Hey, everyone. Welcome to the program. I'm Andy Winnig, elevator pitch coach and founder of the Trusted Advisor Community, which is a subscription-based monthly webinar training series for professionals who want to advance their career, grow their business, and expand their referral network. So for those of you who are logging on, we're typing in kind of where we're from. Just let us know where in the country you're calling from and something you're grateful for today. Thanks for Ty, who's from Blackstone, Mass. Great to see you, Ty. And grateful for the sunshine. And for people who host webinars like this, thank you. Thank you. I'm definitely grateful for spending some time today with my good friends Margie and Suzanne, talking a little bit about networking, and grateful for all of you who are on the call and ready to work with us. So we've got a great program for you today. I'm excited to have Margie and Suzanne here with us. I'll introduce them in a minute. They've got a great perspective on jobs, careers, and networking. And I've got some tough questions lined up for them. I don't know if they know what's coming, but this program is for all of you. So anybody who's on the call, feel free, if you have anything to ask, either now or any time during the program about careers, jobs, anything to do with networking, careers, jobs, anything like that, just go ahead and type it in. We want to answer all your questions. So get it in. Get your questions in as you go. First, though, I want to tell a quick story about Liz. Because Liz lost her job recently, and she never became unemployed. See, when I met Liz about 3.5 years ago, she was a shy lead engineer introvert working in a small biotech firm. She didn't have a business network, and it was holding her back. So she starts learning and practicing the 5 skills of the trusted advisor, and she's delighted to discover that the process of meeting and greeting people and getting to know people is much easier than she's been led to believe. She tries out a few skills each month, hones her elevator pitch, attends networking events, joins a couple of networking groups. She sets up her one-on-ones. And much to her surprise, she starts getting job opportunities. And this is at a time when she wasn't even looking for a job yet. A lot of people said, 1 or 2 people a week would say to her, hey, if you're ever looking for an opportunity, please call me first. Then her company shuts down. But now Liz has a network. So she reaches out to the people who asked her to contact them. And she has 3 exciting opportunities lined up before the company even closes. Before her last day of work, she's already got 3 opportunities lined up. And here's the kicker. I was talking to her just last week. She's now CEO of a new biotech startup. And she casually mentioned that she reached out to a bunch of venture capitalists that she knows, and she's got a bunch of meetings set up for next week where she's going to start looking for money, new opportunities to get money for her new venture. And wow, there's no way she could have done that 3 years ago. And that's really the power of having a strong network, that she doesn't have to look for a job anymore. The opportunities kind of come to her. And that's true once you've built the network, once you develop it and maintain the ongoing relationships and the trust. You can ask for anything. You can ask people to point you towards an honest mechanic. You can ask people for an introduction to the hiring manager at Google. You can ask people for advice on starting your own business. But remember, you can't just go out there and ask. You have to develop the relationships first. And so today, we are talking about networking, the path to developing those relationships. And I'm so excited to have Suzanne Gray and Margie Pascetta on the call because they have both faced their own career transitions. Suzanne has worked in management and business development for over 15 years before she started her own business, most recently with National Grange Mutual Insurance Company. Margie was in business sales and account management for AT&T for 29 years. Oh, good for you, Margie. In a minute, we'll learn how they met and decided to co-found and co-facilitate Career Transitions of Greater Boston, which is a free weekly workshop for professionals in career transition. So their unique approach, part of the reason they're on this call today, part of the reason I wanted to interview them and get them in front of you is the unique approach has helped springboard hundreds of professionals, including themselves, into new careers. And they offer complimentary coaching services to people who are interested in learning more about self-employment and business ownership opportunities. So Suzanne and Margie, welcome to the call. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having us.
Be here.
So what I find is that every networking story starts with the same thing. I met someone. And so, Margie, I think we're going to start with you. Can you tell me about how did you and Suzanne meet? What's kind of the story between the two of you meeting?
Well, Suzanne and I are colleagues in the New England region of the Entrepreneur Source. The Entrepreneur Source is the largest network of alternative career coaches in the country, and we help professionals that are either in career transition or who want to be in career transition take control of their careers. And we do that using an inside-out approach. And by that we mean first we gain some clarity on what they want their next career move to do for them personally in terms of income and lifestyle and long-term wealth and equity, and then to help them, explore self-employment options or vehicles for success that might get them there. So we met because we were colleagues in the same organization.
Yeah, that can be the great thing. And Suzanne, why don't you talk a little bit about what made you to decide to start a networking group? Kind of how did that come up?
Yeah, Andy, Margie and I attend an annual conference every year. Excuse me, I have a little bit of a cold, so I apologize for that. And in 2009, we attended our annual conference, and we went to a roundtable. And roundtables at the conference are where other coaches that do what we do are sharing best practices and what they have done in their practice that may be a little bit different than other coaches could learn from. And one of our colleagues started a group very similar to this group in Florida. And it was a weekly workshop for job seekers. And along with that workshop, what it was actually a curriculum that we invested in, and that we then presented that curriculum back here in Boston. Anyway, the next time Margie and I saw each other at that conference, we started talking about starting this type of weekly job seeker group here in the Boston area. So, Margie and I, we have a synergistic relationship, and I think that that's an important key here if you're going to start something like this with a partner. We firmly believe that 1 + 1 equals more than 2, and that, we can leverage each other's strengths, which is what we did to make this successful.
Yeah, and we both thought that starting a network group really had two benefits. First, this was back in 2009, and we saw that job seekers in 2009, they were really attending different sessions at employment offices, which address sort of the tangible needs of writing a cover letter, creating a resume, et cetera. But it didn't help them address their other issues, like how to network, for example, to get a job, and how to set goals, and how to keep positive when they're surrounded by negativity. So it was back in 2009, and there was nothing available for them to help them in those areas. So we wanted to create a safe space for these job seekers to work on the other issues that accompany unemployment. This was assistance that they didn't have available through the conventional job-seeking sessions.
Yeah, and Margie, another point along with that is that we knew that starting a group like this would have other benefits for us in our businesses. We would raise awareness in the community about who we are as career coaches, about our approach to helping people through the career transition process, and gain trust and credibility with a segment of the population that are potential clients for us. So, there was another sort of benefit to us in our businesses as well. It's really a good fit for our coaching practices, as our best clients are people who know, like, and trust us to help them through their career transition and help talk to them about business ownership. So our purpose includes, also getting out in the community and general awareness of, kind of the value that we can bring as career coaches.
That's great. And so let's talk for a minute, because networking, we hear about networking, kind of the benefit of it. And Margie, can you talk for a minute about the best story you have about something unexpected that happened out of networking, out of having the group, and kind of an unexpected connection that happened?
Sure. I mean, there are tons of stories. I think unexpectedly we formed many relationships with other career professionals and coaches because they also volunteered their time to come and help us by presenting a workshop or facilitating the group. And as a matter of fact, that's how we met you, Andy. You were a guest speaker at our group.
That's right, yeah, that is how we met.
Yeah. Also, I should mention that I started coaching an attendee of the group, and in my coaching with her, I found out about the skills that her husband has, and he happened to be in career transition, it turns out I ended up talking with her husband. He had skills that I actually hired him for. So, I have somebody working in my business that I met as a result of this group as well. So, basically he now has a job, and he's building on that for his own career. So I mean, it's worked out really well.
I have a similar story. I'm sorry, Andy.
No, go ahead.
I hired one of the attendees of our very, very first meeting to help out in my husband's business, Mosquito Squad, with the bookkeeping and the QuickBooks, and we've been working together for 5 years now.
That's great. That's great. It's nice to be running a job group and actually hire people from the job group. That's pretty cool. And so, how many people? When you started this thing up, how many people, Margie, were there at the first meeting? How many people did you turn out for the first meeting?
Oh my goodness, we had about 8 to 10 people, which we were really happy with because we were sort of worried we would throw this party and no one would come. But it was about 8 to 10, I'd say.
And what did it end up being when you were kind of at the height of it? Kind of what was the high side?
Well, our average attendance was usually 20 to 25 people.
Yep.
But Andy, we did have a couple of larger groups. Like when you came to speak to our group, we would usually draw in a larger crowd because of the subject matter and people enjoyed your workshops. I think, Margie, we had a couple that were in the 40, 42, 44 zone there. We had to move in a lot of chairs for those.
Yeah, we got in trouble at the library.
Yeah, I always enjoyed the fact that it was at the library. It seemed weird to be having sessions at the library, but it works out nicely. It's great stuff. A great thing. So, Suzanne, how did you said you were doing this weekly, so how did you stay motivated to run this group? How did you find motivation for keeping this group going?
I think that with a group the way that this group was set up, you get so many intangible benefits. We knew we were helping people. It's a lot of self-satisfaction when you start a group of any nature. It doesn't have to be a job-seeking group, but if you feel that you are helping people be more successful, the energy builds on itself from that. It was a high energy, positive energy group, and we knew that we were making a difference in people's lives. And we got a lot of appreciation from the people who were attending the group. People would thank us, and they'd send us emails, and they'd keep us up to date on what was going on with their job searches. It's a really great feeling to help people. What do they call it? Serotonin when you are helping others. It's very self-satisfying, and we're grateful that we had that experience.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. But we did have to keep each other motivated. We usually took turns once every 6 months or so, boosting the other person up. And then after 5 years of doing this weekly, we both burnt out at the same time, and that's when we figured we were gonna close the doors. But we're still getting our message out. We're now taking it on the road, and we're speaking to career groups and networkers all over New England.
Oh, great. So let me pause there for a second and say to people, if you have questions for Margie and Suzanne as we're going, I got plenty more to talk to them about, but we also want to answer the questions you guys have. So any questions you have, feel free to type them into the chat box, and we'll get to those as well. So again, if you got something coming up or you come up with a question, go ahead and type it in, and I'm scanning that and looking for that. So let's talk a little bit more about this group, and then we're gonna dig into some of the cool stuff that's especially for job seekers. So Suzanne, tell us kind of what the group was for and how it worked. Like what did this group look like? How did you set it up so it was kind of helpful for people and so well attended? Like what was your kind of model for it?
Well, we always made it a point to say it was not just a networking group. The networking piece of it was actually something that came out of the group. Certainly there was networking pieces that came out of it, and we're very much aware that people were networking as a result of it. But our main goal was to design workshops, weekly workshops that were free and facilitated by career professionals to help people who are in transition reach their goals. So as a coach, any coach provides their clients with awareness, education, and accountability. And that's one of the things that made our group different. The accountability piece we built into each session, where we would ask the group what they had done over the past week to further their job search. They knew they were going to be asked that question. And when you are held accountable to reach your goals or to do certain tasks, and people are going to follow up with you and ask you about that, you're much more likely to actually be successful in doing those tasks and meeting those goals. So we wanted to leave the group every week with something tangible that they could take away to further their career goals. And that's really what a good coach does. I mean, that's the same approach we use when we're working with our clients, of course. A networking group is formed for the main purpose for you to meet other people. That was the result of this, but we also felt that leaving the job seekers with something that they could take away and work on was a very important part of it. Also, we're career professionals who started this workshop. We're not job seekers who started the workshop, or something else, or employees at a career center. So I think that also gave it a different flavor than the other groups that are out there.
Okay.
Yeah, the flow of the meetings had a structure to it as well. So people began knowing what to expect when they came. It was a 2.5-hour weekly meeting, and we divided the time into 3 parts. Each week we'd welcome some new members. Anywhere from maybe 5 to 8 new members would come in every week. So we welcomed the new members by setting the ground rules. And basically this was supposed to be a safe and supportive environment. We stole the slogan from Las Vegas and said, what happens in career transitions stays in career transitions. And after we really shared that information, and also the fact that, based on our philosophy that this is a time not to just define yourself by what you've done in the past, but take a step back and use it as an opportunity to maybe reinvent yourself. So we started out each day allowing each attendee to introduce themselves to the group and practice their elevator pitches. Then we would have an interactive workshop that was either put together by one or both of us or one of our wonderful guest speakers. And as Suzanne mentioned, we also asked each attendee to be accountable to the group by sharing what they accomplished over the past week to move them closer to achieving their goals. So it was a very interactive group that everybody got to participate in.
Yeah, and just one other point I'd like to add to this. I'm sorry, Andy, if we keep going on this question, but, there's a lot to this. And if you're going to put together a group like this, you want it to be different. You want it to have a differentiator over other groups that are out there, whether it be a networking group for professionals or business owners, or it doesn't matter really what the group is. You want it to have some differentiators. So I think that you kind of hit a spot here where we have a lot to talk about. But, every day in our coaching practices, Margie and I use what we call an inside-out approach to helping people look at their career and what they want to do next. And we try to also have the members of this group also take an inside-out approach to looking at their job search. And by that, what we're trying to do is say to them, listen, think about, don't limit yourself by what you've always done in the past. Widen your horizons. Take a step back and consider all your options. You're in career transition. What other things can you do to further your job search, to open yourself up to other possibilities of other roles out there that may be a good fit for you? Don't define yourself just as what you've done in the past. Paint a picture of what you want from your career and what you like to do and where you excel, and then explore the career options that fit that. We talk to our clients about this when they're thinking about business ownership. What a business would be a good vehicle to get you to what your goals are. But if you're in a job search, it's really the same thought. What is the right career for you to get to where you want to be.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point, and it is true. I mean, when I talk about networking, it's interesting to me that you guys don't like to call it a networking group. To me, you've kind of come backwards into the secret of a networking group. That the real goal is to provide value. As long as you're providing value on a weekly basis, people will keep showing up, and that's when people start making connections. Right, when you provide that kind of value. And I always think it's a great message that you provide to job seekers that you have an opportunity here, right? People get so anxious and nervous about that kind of job approach, but you really have an opportunity to make something, right? I mean, maybe the job you were at, you didn't like it that much, and now being out of it, you can do something else. I mean, as you guys know, that happened to me. You know, back in 2001, I lost my job, and that launched my career as a business owner, and I'm much happier now, but never would have had the guts to do it if I hadn't lost the job. And so you know, that's the kind of I think that's a great thing. So back to the group just for a minute longer. Margie, how would you say the reality of the group? You know, whenever you do something like this, you make the plans and you go and you do it. I think it's true in the job search too. You know, you have a certain thing in mind, and then you kind of start working, and things don't work out exactly the way you expected. So, Margie, what would you say? How did the reality of the group differ from kind of your plan? Like, what kind of surprises did you run into as you started up the group?
Well, it was really night and day, Andy. We started out by learning about this group in Florida started by one of our colleagues. It was called Transitioning Professionals, and we actually bought a license to utilize their curriculum. And we covered traditional job-seeking topics such as interview skills, resume writing, and using social media. But that changed pretty quickly, didn't it, Suzanne?
Yes, it did. Yeah, it did. You know, that curriculum wasn't really what we found that people needed. And I'm sorry if I interrupted you, Margie, but I think that's probably where you were going with it. You know, we found that those resume writing and cover letter writing, job seekers could get those at the unemployment offices, the career centers we call them in Massachusetts. And we found that the group that showed up at our sessions really needed some of the more softer issues that they're going through when they're in transition. So we changed the curriculum to adjust for what the needs of the group was. And I think that that's a really important point, Andy, is that, you know, if you're not flexible enough to adjust what you're providing, then you're not going to be providing that value, you know, the value that we were just talking about, you were just mentioning. You know, if you can't adjust to what people need, people are going to stop coming to the group because they have other ways to spend their time. So what we decided to do was we abandoned that curriculum and we developed our own curriculum more focused on goal setting and taking control of your own situation. We covered topics like Stephen Covey's 7 Habits, Jack Canfield's Success Principles, getting rid of your head trash, you know, those types of things. You know, Margie, you can probably fill in some of the blanks around this too.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here thinking about, you know, going through the initial training we had when we became coaches, and, you know, both of us love to talk, and one of the most difficult things to learn, and that's really important for a coach, is to listen, to shut up and listen. And I think that's what we did very well, is we came in there with a prepared agenda, but we heard loud and clear that there were some other needs that weren't being met. And so we had special topics, you know, even depending on the time of the year, such as how to deal with your relatives at the holiday time when you're unemployed and they keep asking, have you found a job yet? I mean, it certainly doesn't make the holiday very festive. We even had a member of a ministry come in and help our members through their grieving process, because many people don't think that a job loss is the same as other losses, but it is a loss, and you have to go through a grieving process, and people needed help with that.
It's interesting that you figured that out, that it wasn't, you know, that the job search isn't just about setting up your resume and, you know, setting up your resume and your cover letter and sending it out. That there's kind of a more psychological side to it. And so, Suzanne, kind of one of those things. What would you say is the biggest challenge for you guys as you were running this program, running the group?
Yeah, remember that we started this in 2009, and that was, we had gone through a huge economic, what do you call it, of upheaval, I guess I would call it, in that time frame. And people who had never been unemployed before found themselves as unemployed. And I know that people who are, work in the IT field, had been through that before, but many others had not. And what we had to bring, the message we needed to bring to that group was that the economy is not just going to rebound automatically, and things are just not going to be the same again. And so, we call it being a Debbie Downer. As career coaches, we are really aware, and we are we keep up to date with what's going on out there. We have to, because we have to know where the jobs are. If you're going to start a business, is this a good time to start a business? What kind of businesses are good to start at this time? So we really have to keep up with what's going on with the current job market and what's going on with the economy. And we talked openly about this when few other people were really talking about that this is a new career economy and jobs aren't coming back. And a lot of people in the group had their head in the sand, just thinking that they're going to get a job next week and that, their house is going to come back to the value it was before and their 401k was going to come right back. And I know things have improved now, but it took a really long time to get there. People didn't know that, they didn't realize what the situation really was going to be. And on average, it takes a year for those who are age 50 or over to get reemployed. And people were thinking that they were going to get a job right away. And we knew some of these statistics, and we were talking about them. And that, we just had to give them a reality check. But the other thing is that it wasn't just a negative message. Then we would show them what to do about this. Here are possibilities. This is how you can work on this. So it was we always left them with a positive vibe, a positive message, so that we could incorporate something that they could do to further themselves, even though this is what was going on, the reality check piece of it.
Yep.
Yeah, so they did always, I should say usually, leave in a much more positive state of mind. We did have to also deal with a lot of emotions because, as we just said, it's a grieving process and it's a roller coaster of emotions. We've had people burst out crying in the group, and sometimes we got someone who was really angry come to the group, and we had moments when we thought an attendee might go postal on us, and it sucked the energy right out of the room. So that was some of the more difficult aspects of it.
All right, so I got a question. From the audience. Thanks again for typing into the chat. And again, if you got any other questions you want to ask, feel free to type them in. But they're saying, Suzanne, you were talking about how you opened up strategies for people, and so for someone who's stuck, what would you kind of recommend as a thing to get moving again? How do you kind of get your motivation back if you kind of the stuff you've done isn't working? Like what are some other things? What are some other things you found that's helpful for people to try?
Yeah, well, we could do a whole session on that, Andy. But I'll give you some quick helpful hints of how to get unstuck. First of all, get out of your comfort zone. Get out of your comfort zone. So whatever you're doing, it hasn't really been working all that well. So reach out to other people, because networking is the way that you're going to meet other people, get yourself known to other people and the value that you bring, and you want to get out there in the community. Now, you may need to do what we call pro bono work, which is what we used to call volunteer work, to keep up your skills, to get out there and meet new people, to get yourself something else on your resume that you can put for current jobs. And there's many different ways you can do pro bono, but so doing pro bono work, getting out of your comfort zone, networking, and thinking about your achievements so you can keep yourself in a positive state of mind. We talk to a lot of job seekers that end up getting discouraged, and you need to be thinking about what your value is, because no one else can really talk about your value except for you, right? So like it or not, you're now, and we're probably talking about this in a few minutes, but you're now the president of your own little company called Me Incorporated. So part of that is actually being able to express your own value. So there's a lot to it, Andy, and we could probably do a whole hour session on how to get unstuck. The other thing I just want to mention is to get some goals together. So if you need to, say you need to take a course in order to make yourself more valuable, or you want to do some pro bono work, get goals together and break it down into tasks, and then hold yourself accountable, or get somebody else to hold you accountable to doing those tasks, to do the pro bono work, to make the phone calls, to do the research on the courses you should be taking, et cetera. So that accountability piece is a really important part of it.
Excellent. I just had another question come in, so thanks to Martha for putting this through. So she's wondering if there are top 3 tips list for over 50s who are still looking a year post layoff. So I don't know if Margie, did you want to take that, or the top 3 tips for people who are still looking?
Sure. I don't know if I can think of, but the top thing I would say is gain control over your career. Don't leave your destiny in the hands of someone else who can, change everything in your life at their whim. I think that when you embrace opportunities and start getting outside your comfort zone, like Suzanne mentioned, you've got to think about not having all your eggs in one basket. When you have a job, everything is dependent on that job. You have essentially one customer. And if that customer lays you off, you have no income coming into your household. So I think that we could go into a longer story about this as well and do a lot of different options, but think of ways you can start bringing multiple revenue streams into your household, and so that you have a sort of safety net. And, even as a business owner, if you lose one customer, your business isn't going to go down the drain. But if you have a job and you lose that, everything's down the drain. And just to add something, to what Suzanne said about getting out of your comfort zone, a lot of people get stuck because they keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And we all know that's the definition of insanity. So you really have to be open to hearing new ideas and new perspectives and trying things that you haven't done before in order to get the results you haven't gotten before.
Right. So just, in taking that, again, if you're thinking about your job search as your own business, if you were running your own business and the role, the main goal of your business was to create income streams for yourself. I mean, because really, if that's what your goal is, that so you think about that and you say, okay, so how am I going to create income streams? One method of doing that is to get a job. You should also be looking at other ways to produce revenue, and that may be investing in a small business. It may be starting up something on the side, some kind of other types of income-generating activities. It may be investing in real estate. It may be diversifying your portfolio and meeting with your financial advisor and at least getting in control of your 401k and where that's invested. I mean, everybody should do that because that's obviously something that we all need to do. And, when you're thinking about the Me Incorporated piece of this, and you're thinking about how to diversify and what to do, you may need to think about talking to a coach or how you can get a job. You may need to think about investing in yourself, and that may mean taking a course or, bringing yourself up to date. You need to kind of take the blinders off. There's not one single thing that you can do, except that you need to really really just think about your career a little bit differently. It's not the same way it was before. But networking and getting out there and meeting new people, and I call it sharpening the saw, which means, taking courses and keeping your skills up to date and doing pro bono work. All this stuff is, I know it's a lot, but you need to look at how you can get yourself out there and valuable to an employer.
And so I'd like to say, too, that the amazing thing about what Margie and Suzanne do is that it's absolutely no cost to the job seeker. And I worked with someone similar to them back 13 years ago when I was looking for a new opportunity. I worked with someone similar to them. I didn't have a chance to work with them back then, but I worked with someone similar. And for any of you on the call who are kind of listening to this and saying, I'd like to know more about that, or you have some other questions you'd like to talk about in person, toward the end of the program, we'll show you how you can get in touch with Margie and Suzanne, and they'd be happy if you reach out. They'd be happy to give you some free time on the phone to talk you through some of the stuff they're talking about. Maybe some of the other kinds of opportunities that exist. If you're thinking, I can't think what the other opportunities are, they'd be happy to talk to you one-on-one. And again, it doesn't cost you anything to do that. So once again, in a couple of minutes, I'll show you how to get in touch with them. But it's a really valuable thing that they offer. And I know I was really skeptical when I was looking at this stuff, because I hadn't never thought in these terms before. But I ended up talking to someone, who did this kind of work, and it was eye-opening just to kind of, focus on what I wanted and how I was going to get there. It was really helpful. So I do encourage you, feel free to reach out to them as it makes sense. So we've got another question coming in that I actually may take, and then pass to you guys if you want. But Ty, it's a great question. So how would you recommend going about building network connections in target companies where you currently do not know anyone there? And Margie and Suzanne probably have something to add to this, but Ty, the thing that I teach about networking is that you're not looking to build a network in the company that you're going to. You're looking to build your own network and then look in that network for people who can get you in where you want, because it's one thing to network with people who are in the company. It's quite another to network with people who know people in that company, because if they talk to someone who's in that company and say, hey, I need you to meet with Ty, like you'd be good to meet with him, you're much more likely to get that meeting. It's much easier than if you're trying to create relationships within that company. And if you're focusing just on that company, maybe you're missing out on some other opportunities that are equally valuable to you. So I don't know, Margie or Suzanne, did you have anything to add to that, kind of how to build network connections within their target companies? What are your thoughts? And either of you have thoughts on that?
Well, we had a lot of popular conversations about utilizing LinkedIn, and LinkedIn has been become a very useful tool for job seekers, and it's helpful to try to find connections through connections. I'm not a LinkedIn whiz, but there are classes that you can take on how to use LinkedIn for job seekers. I even think that some of them are available through the employment offices. But that's one way to try to find the connections that will lead you to the company that you're trying to get to.
That's great. No, I will say, if you go to LinkedIn and just search for a company, you'll see the list of contacts that you have that know people within that company. That's kind of a straightforward. Just go to the search thing. Just go to the search bar in LinkedIn and do a search, and then you can kind of see who knows someone there, and that can be a good place to start, Ty, if you're looking to get into a company that way. So the chances are you're already more connected to it than you think you are. And thanks, Margie. That's a great idea. LinkedIn is a great way to go about that. Okay, good. Keep the questions coming. These are great questions. Thank you. It's always fun answering live questions from the audience. So let's go back to the networking group for a minute now. Suzanne, so how did you get people to attend? Like, what was your strategy for bringing people out to the group each week?
Yeah, we basically used LinkedIn a lot. We started a LinkedIn group, Career Transitions of Greater Boston, which is still operating and people are still posting on it. We began posting each week's session there and the topic, and we also posted on other career seeker LinkedIn types of sites throughout New England. And we have about 600 people that are members of our LinkedIn group, and we had about 800 people attend our seminar. 800 individual people attend our seminars, our workshops. over the past 5 years. So, that LinkedIn is a very powerful tool. Also, we began guest speaking at other job seeker groups and creating an awareness that we existed. We'd always have a slide and some flyers there about our group. And we got a lot of word of mouth from people who attended our group, and they would tell their friends. And even the career centers, the unemployment offices, and other career coaches would refer people to our group as well.
That's great. And can you talk about one thing that you did that kind of didn't work for bringing people to the group? Do you have any example of something you tried that just kind of, caused people not to come?
I don't think there's anything that we did that caused people not to come. I think some of our sessions were more popular than other sessions. And certainly we wouldn't repeat a session that wasn't well attended or people didn't get a lot out of it. But once we got into the rhythm of posting information on LinkedIn and the job seeker groups, that was really how we really got people to attend. That's
great, thanks. So, Margie, can you talk a little bit about the speaker program? You mentioned you brought in kind of outside. If you're doing it weekly and it's you every time, that can be that can get old. So, can you talk about kind of how the speaker program helped you guys?
Oh, it helped us a lot. What we got from our network is we network with other career professionals with a variety of perspectives and areas of expertise. So we had the benefit of asking them if they would mind donating their time to come facilitate a workshop for us. And it kept us from getting stale and, frankly, from getting burnt out. And it gave us that unexpected result of being exposed to a lot of great people and professionals like you that we've since developed long-term relationships with. And I think Suzanne and I both think that bringing in those guest speakers was probably the single best thing we did to keep the group going.
That's great. That's wonderful. And Suzanne, kind of along those lines, did you find that people tended to return? Did you have to do anything in particular to get people to keep coming to the group, or with new people each week, or kind of the same people hanging out, or what did the kind of return rate look like? People coming back.
People did tend to return, but again, we ran this for 5 years, so we didn't have anybody that attended the group for 5 years straight every week. Thankfully, people got jobs and or contract roles, and they may have transitioned out for a little while and got a job or got a contract role, and then they would come back to the group again. In fact, I just got an email from somebody earlier this week that said, "Are you still running your group in Burlington? I'd like to attend," and I didn't see it on the library website. So people, it was very common that people would come back after they were employed again or temporarily employed, and then they would come back again. So that was very, very common to the group. We didn't need to convince them to come back. They just kept coming. When you provide something that's of value to others and it's a supportive environment, people just tend to want to attend. They want to come back to it. It wasn't a pity party. Attendees always left feeling better than when they came in. And in fact, in reality, our attendees got many hours of free coaching from us and our guest coaches that we brought in. And over the course of a 2-year period, we also provided DISC assessments, which helps you understand your natural strengths and your natural skills. We did that for free and reviewed those DISC assessments with attendees at no charge to the attendees. And it's a huge value to job seekers. We were told by several of them that they actually got a job because of the DISC assessment that we provided for them, because they could actually understand more about how to communicate with their prospective boss during the interview. And we were really happy to have provided that kind of value to the job seekers.
That's great. Good. So Margie, so we've been talking a little bit about. I know for myself, when I look to make this transition from from being an employee to being a business owner, I was absolutely terrified. I didn't know. I mean, it turns out that I love it, but I wouldn't have known that ahead of time. And do you have any? Can you talk about kind of signs that people can know that they might be business owner materialism? You know, it might be an opportunity to pursue some of these other alternatives to, you know, kind of full-time employment.
Sure. Our most successful clients are people who are self-confident and want more control over their destiny. Like what I mentioned before, that's the single best thing that you can do is take control of your situations. There are a lot of very experienced and talented professionals who are fed up with corporate America. They have excellent business skills. They're financially stable, and they're willing to invest in themselves. And frankly, a lot of people have always had that itch, you know, always that we call it the grain of sand, but always in the back of their minds would like to work for themselves rather than somebody else.
Yeah, well, I know it's interesting because I always had that itch. I always knew I wanted to start my own business. I just didn't have the guts, and I wasn't really sure where to start. That was a great description of it. Great. And let's keep on this a little bit more in terms of employees. And again, anybody who's got questions as we go, you know, feel free to shoot them through the chat box. But Suzanne, can you talk a little bit about what skill or attitude was the best predictor of job seekers being able to find a new job quickly? You know, for those people who are on the call and kind of looking for jobs, like what did you see in people that kind of indicated to you they might be able to, you know, make good progress and kind of get reemployed quickly?
Yeah, I mean, I think that self-confidence that we've been talking about is so important for job seekers, because if you're not confident in your skills and if you don't feel good about getting out there and talking about your value, nobody else is going to toot your horn for you. So one of the ways that you can gain that self-confidence is by taking control of your situation. So many job seekers feel that they're the victim of something, like somebody did this to them, and so it gives them a very negative feeling about themselves. In order to shed that, taking control of your situation can be very helpful, and taking control of your situation by putting in place the steps that you need to do to get yourself back out there and employable, right? So we talked about some of those things before, like, you know, taking courses, doing pro bono work. What skills are listed on the job posting that you don't have? How can you get those skills? Can you do pro bono work? And you know, there are many things that you can do to sharpen the saw, I like to say. So you need to be thinking about that. Getting out of your comfort zone, I talked about that already. What got you here won't get you to where you want to go, because everything has changed out there. So, you know, we already talked about the definition of insanity. You need to take off the blinders and think about your situation differently. And of course, work your network, your circle of influence. Who knows about the value that you bring? Who can help you maybe understand more about what's out there, who you can meet, where you can go? I always suggest that people network with people that are employed, not people that are unemployed, but network with people that are employed. So that means joining groups of people in your profession that are employed. They may know of other jobs that are out there. You know, I think it's about thinking about yourself and your life and taking control of it. And that's the biggest message. But all these other things kind of build up into that.
Great. Excellent. Thank you. So we got a bunch more questions to go. And again, if you've got questions, feel free to put them in. I want to talk a little bit. We do have some free resources available for folks who are, you know, kind of in the job search or growing their business. I mean, this kind of covers both. Like if you want to start a networking group, or if you're looking to do networking. So I want to spend a minute just talking about some stuff that I have that you can take advantage of, and some stuff that Margie and Suzanne are kindly offering as part of being on this webinar. So we'll go through that quickly, and then we'll get back to the questions. So again, if you've got other questions that are coming up, something you want answered, we got 10 or 15 minutes left on the webinar here. So if you want anything answered, feel free to type something in. I want to talk about, so the couple things I want to talk about. The first is the next webinar that I'm doing is called Answering What Do You Do? And for those of you who are feeling uncomfortable at a networking event, you go there and you're not. I mean, especially for job seekers, but even I find with business professionals, it can be a challenge to kind of know how to answer this question. And so I'm doing a free webinar in 2 weeks. It's April 2nd at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. You can sign up right there answering whatdoyoudo.eventbrite.com. And so if you're interested in kind of working on that, if you find, and it turns out there's only 3 questions you're ever going to be asked at a networking event. And in this course, we go through it. It's about an hour webinar, and we go through. You're going to actually work on each webinar. This is more like a working session than a lecture. So I tell you the questions, give you a template, and work through what your answer is going to be. So and Suzanne and Margie talked about gaining that confidence. This is a great way of kind of adding to those skills that'll help make you confident. I want to talk for just a minute about the Trusted Advisor community because it is a great way of expanding your referral network. And so I just want to go through it quickly. And the Trusted Advisor community is about the 5 skills of the Trusted Advisor, and so the elevator pitch is one of those. But a lot of the stuff we're talking about today is equally important. When I talked about my client Liz, she's good at the follow-up and she's good at the one-on-ones, and she learned how to do professional referrals, both receiving and giving. And she loves the opportunity spotting. And I know, Margie, you've been excited about the opportunity spotting. Margie's been creative. She feels like she's being creative about looking for new opportunities, and I think that's something that's really valuable for people who are doing any of this kind of work. The program is 2 webinars a month, office hours, private discussion boards, and the on-demand video archive. There's a lot of stuff there. And just a couple of the programs that are coming up. Go where your prospects aren't. This is the question that Ty asked earlier. How can I network into a group? We're going to be talking in that program about why you don't want to network into that company. You want to network, with. We'll tell you who to network with so you can actually get referrals into those kinds of things. We'll be talking about the circle of trust. Suzanne and Margie just mentioned the circle of influence. We're going to be giving professional referrals. I've had a bunch of cases recently where people gave me referrals that just didn't fit well. And there's a particular process you can go through that helps you get that. And so that and so much more. And then the other thing, the other thing is free coaching calls. Like Margie and Suzanne are, they're available. So the stuff we're talking about today, if you feel like you have that itch and you haven't really known how to start or where to go, I encourage you to reach out. Their emails and phone numbers. I mean, obviously you call them right now. They're on the webinar, but I encourage you to reach out to them. You can reach out to either one or both or whatever. But shoot them an email or leave them a message, and they'll be happy to get on the phone and talk to you, find out what you're up to, give you some ideas. Give you some ideas maybe for getting out of your comfort zone, for looking for new opportunities that you'll end up thinking are even better than what you've got. So again, I really encourage you. Like this is the best thing that I did when I was in my career transition, is talking to a coach like Margie and Suzanne. And so if you're if what we're talking about today sounds interesting at all, or you're like, oh, I kind of have that itch, but I'm not sure where to start, Margie and Suzanne have a lot of resources that they can give you. And again, it doesn't cost you anything to talk to them. It's amazing. It doesn't make any sense, but it does. I mean, it does, but they they get paid by where they place you, just like regular recruiters. So again, I would encourage you to reach out to them. That is always available. And so we've got a few minutes left. I got a couple more questions I can go through, but again, if you guys have questions, feel free to type them in, and I'd be happy to answer the questions that are on your mind. But so Margie, let's go back to you now. Can you talk for a minute about what's one thing people can do to increase their chances of getting employed? And all the people you talk to and all the people you've worked with, what have you seen as kind of one thing people do that helps them get back to making money for them and their families?
Well, that's a good question. I think that it's a mindset, and really it's that reality check of taking those blinders, getting your head out of the sand. We strongly believe this is a marathon and not a sprint. And today's statistics show that if you land a job tomorrow, guess what? You're going to be looking for another one in 2.4 years. So the way the economy has changed over the past 7 years, people really need to look at their careers differently. Right, Suzanne?
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned this before, but we really feel that job seekers are CEO of their own business, and it's called Me Incorporated. And it's so important that job seekers understand that they are self-employed in that their jobs are not going to be lasting forever, so they need to keep networking. I mean, Andy, you've been talking about this. This is actually how you opened the segment, right? You were talking about, Liz, who you know, and she is a networker, and that has opened doors for her. We strongly support that belief as well. We believe that the job search should be treated as a business, and you need to keep marketing that business because, as Margie said, in 2.4 years, statistics show that people are going to be looking for a job again. And if you're over 50, it takes a year to get a job. So this is not a marathon. I mean, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Sorry. And so, we're not going to go into all the different aspects of Me Incorporated because that's, we could do a whole nother session on that. But, we really feel strongly that this is something that people need to continuously work on. Once you land a job, you need to keep networking.
Yeah, and what I would add to that also, Andy, is people really owe it to themselves and their families to cast a wide net, and this is a time to explore all your options, not just define yourself by what you did in the past, but use this as an opportunity, like you did, Andy, to take a step back and explore all your options. And that might include self-employment. It could be a portfolio career. It could be contract employment. There could be other ways of creating multiple income streams. But this brave new world, as we call it, really requires that you really cast a wide net and explore all your options.
Great. Well, Suzanne, we talked about this a little bit, but I know you have some other thoughts on if someone's not finding employment. How do you keep them motivated? How do you help them kind of stay motivated to keep? If it's going to take a year, that's a long time to be looking for a job. So, kind of how do you keep people motivated during that process? You can encourage people to motivate themselves as well.
It's very difficult, but remember, this is not just about finding a job. It's about what you're going to be doing next with your career. So it's very motivating and empowering when you discover that you have options, maybe outside of the traditional job market, and you can begin to take control of your own situation versus, Margie talked before about the employee-employer relationship. That's having one customer, basically, one client, and that's your employer. That means that you're totally dependent upon that relationship, which makes you feel like you're out of control of your career. So we talk to our clients about taking control of their situation and using an inside-out approach about what they want their life to look like. And that in and of itself can be very motivating. So that it gives you a chance to step back and say, okay, what do I really want next in my career? What's really important to me? That end game that you're looking for may or may not be a job, or as Margie said before, it may be a portfolio career where you're putting together different sources of income together to make your next career. I mean, people don't think about that, very often, but there's now a name for that, and it's not just hodgepodge. It's called portfolio career, and it can be done with intention and for purpose. So when we're working with our clients, we make them aware of their possibilities and options, and sometimes we believe in their dreams even more than they do. But holding them accountable is important. So if you are job seeking and you have goals set for yourself, you need to hold yourself accountable or get a buddy partner. And one of the most important things that you can do is get a coach or a buddy partner to help you stay focused on what it is that you're supposed to be doing. Without that, it's very easy to lose your motivation. So those are some of the things that I would say about keeping motivated.
Great, thank you. So I just got one more question here. Again, if anyone who's on the call wants to ask a question, go ahead. We're winding down to the hour here, so I want to ask this kind of final question that I have. But again, I think we probably have a couple minutes to stay on the call. If people have other things they want to talk to Suzanne and Margie about. And I also encourage you, go ahead and write down Suzanne or Margie's phone number. Just put it in your put it in your cell phone or in your Rolodex kind of thing. They're good people to know. When you get to the point, if you're employed now, but you're getting to the point that you may need to get reemployed, or if you're actively looking right now, again, it's great. It's great to reach out to them. They have a great way of kind of working with you and getting to the core of who you are and what's going to really be great for you. So I encourage you to go ahead and their numbers and email address are on the phone on the screen. So just go ahead and take note of those, write those down so you can reach out to them. And Margie, so is there a best time during the job seeking process to talk to someone about business ownership? Like, is it the kind of thing should you look for a job, and then if you can't find a job, you start to think of business ownership, or kind of what do you recommend to people as they're looking for reemployment?
I feel like a broken record, but this is my story, and I'm sticking to it. This is a marathon and not a sprint. Very early on, professionals who are in career transition should really educate themselves about all of their options, including business ownership. The worst time to explore business ownership is when your emotional and financial resources are gone. So I've certainly had clients say to me, well, I'm going to look for a job for 6 months, and if I don't find one, then I'll come talk to you. Things aren't going to get better in 6 months. It's better to really cast a wide net now and learn about all your options, because as CEO of Me Incorporated, you're going to experience a cyclical career where you are in regular transition. So you need to be prepared for that by taking control now.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Well, I got a couple more things to say, but if anyone has any questions, go ahead and type them in, and we got a couple more minutes. We can stay on and take your questions. I just want to remind everyone that there's a webinar coming up in 2 weeks on answering what do you do, and that's going to walk you through the only 3 questions you're ever going to be asked, and show you how to answer each one. By the end of that, you'll actually have personalized, authentic answers that you can use. It's one of my most popular programs. I don't usually do it for free, but it is going to be a free webinar. So I encourage you to join that. If you've ever been kind of not sure how to say what to answer to that, I really recommend this program. It is one of my most popular programs. If you're interested in the Trusted Advisor community, that's also available. I don't always recommend that to job seekers, people who are actively seeking a job, because you kind of got to save your money. But what I do recommend is once you become reemployed, that you join the Trusted Advisor community. So the next time you need to become reemployed, you have this network in place like Liz does. So it's kind of a great opportunity to grow your network, so that you have those options. The next time it comes around, you won't be looking for a job. You'll just reach out to your network and off you go. And then once again, of course, we have Margie and Suzanne are happy to talk to anyone who's in career transition or not, about kind of what their goals are and where they're going, and maybe opening up some avenues you hadn't thought about for your job search. Great. So I don't see any other questions coming in. So I want to thank Margie and Suzanne. Thank you very much. It's great hanging out with you for an hour. I love working with you guys, and it's great to talk to you. And thanks for all the great information you gave to our group today. And again, I recommend people reaching out. If you're at all thinking about this kind of stuff, I really recommend reaching out and talking to Suzanne or Margie. So thanks for being on the call.
We enjoyed it.
Thank you to everyone.
Appreciate it.
Thank you to everyone else for being on the call. And so the recording will be available usually within a few days. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a great day.